Hello, this is Blues and Red, your RB Leipzig podcast from Leipzig, at home in Leipzig, and made for you wherever you are on this planet. And we'd just like to welcome you on this Sunday, and hopefully you have recovered from Saturday's match at Bochum, but we'll talk about that in a second. But first of all, I'd like to welcome the brain of the podcast. Richard, have you recovered from that match?
Hey, Mario. Thank you. Well, not yet. Not totally yet. It was devastating. But nevertheless, I had a lazy Sunday. I love those lazy Sundays. It was great. And yeah, now looking forward to the upcoming week. Nevertheless, I'm hyped for the upcoming clash against Sporting. But let's take a brief look back to this, well, so-called football match yesterday.
I'm so glad you had a lazy Sunday, Richard. Lovely. Anyways, when I was following that match yesterday, I didn't see it live. I was really surprised that Willi Orban scored the first goal. My first thought was, well, he had enough of all of this, and he just, scored a goal. He just banged that thing in there, and he thought, that's it, I'm going to just score. So that was brilliant, and that was followed up by two other goals. That RB Leipzig was leading 3-0 in the first half really early, and Nusa and Baumgartner scored the two new strikers for that match. And at that point, we all thought, okay, we're cruising. And who are actually Šeško and Opendo, but we're back when they're actually back in the next match, hopefully. But when the first goal for Bochum actually happened, we kind of got a little bit nervous. I got a little bit nervous, I must say, because you know how this goes. In this situation with RB Leipzig at the moment, we can't take it for granted. And of course, Bochum scored a second one, same player. And when the third one got in, I heard my neighbor, she actually remarked, well, I puked and puked and puked. We were really angry. And communication stopped after that because I think we're all just fed up. So yeah, we have dropped out of the top four. We're now in fifth place because Stuttgart has passed us. They were beat Freiburg 4-0. And we're recording this on a Sunday. And Union Berlin beat Mainz. And if Mainz had won in Berlin, they would have passed us as well. So we would be in sixth place. At the moment, we're in fifth place. But actually, Richard, it doesn't matter where we are because it doesn't feel right. There is something I picked up after the match. Yes, there was loads of things going around in social media as well. But Marco Rose apparently made a statement saying that the opposing coach, Mr. Hecking, Maestro, I know, I remember, he's been around for quite a while. He changed tactics of the VfB Bochum team. And that, of course, led to VfB Bochum being more effective and actually scoring 1, 2, 3 goals. And it sounded to me as if either Marco Rose didn't have any idea how to counter that. There was no in-game coaching which countered that, or whatever you tried, but he didn't reveal whatever they tried, what the staff actually changed in form of tactics. Maybe that didn't work. I did notice we only substituted 2 players, and also big question marks over Elmas, but maybe Baumgartner did a better job. I don't know. But Elmas still didn't come on, so no idea what he has done, what kind of silverware he's stolen, so that he's not being used. But we only had 2 substitutions, and according to that statement, Marco Rose, whatever game plan he had was destroyed. They couldn't change tactics, or the tactics they applied didn't work, but at least he didn't let on to that. Or is it the case, I wonder, is it not possible to change tactics and to react in-game because our squad is limited and the players we've got do not offer anything else, anything different from the ones which are on the pitch? So, Richard, what do you suspect? What is your impression? Is it the case that Marco Rose may and the staff may not be able to implement any different game plans, and if the opponent knows what we're doing, that's it? They can attack that in an effective way, i.e. us not being effective anymore and probably losing the game? Or is it the case that the players we have available at the moment do not warrant to change any different kind of play? What do you think, Richard?
Well, it's a good question. To me, it's like if you're going out and to mics from the press conference and telling that, hey, my opponent's coach changed tactics, and I didn't know how to handle that. Okay, it's pretty much you're not qualified enough for doing this job because it's your fucking job. to react accordingly and to think about possibilities, what your opponent's coach could do. And if you cannot react to whatever you have to deal with as a game develops, you're not able to be a top flight coach in top flight football or maybe in any sports. Sure, I know we're running out of players and we have some issues with other personnel, and that's the reason, of course, we only changed twice that match. But on the other hand side, even if that's the case, you have to be able to change something. And if you're running out of ideas, what could happen? But I want to see that there was at least some ideas. So, okay, we have to, and the coach should react after the match. Okay, we tried this and we tried that and nothing worked. And that's why Bochum was able to equalize this match. But that could happen. Okay, this is nothing that you talk about and say, okay, this is never going to happen. Sometimes those freak matches occur. And but I by myself didn't recognize anything that was subject to change within the whole match. And if you're running out of ideas, well, trying to go for man coverage all the time. Okay, so maybe and go out with the libero.
The libero. Was that Franz
like
Beckenbauer?
That.
Was he a libero?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, come, let's go, Campbell. You're the last man, and do what you want to do. But anyway, there was nothing like that. And okay, this is like waving the white flag. And
throwing
I'm
in
not
the
sure
towel.
how many games Marco Rose has in stock.
Yeah, it is something very frightening, very concerning. I mean, if I understand you correctly, and I hope I understand you correctly, we're not saying that they didn't possibly try to change anything, but it was not apparent and it was not communicated. And of course, we're not the experts and we're looking in from the outside. But if a coach actually mentions that the other coach, i.e. Mr. Heckin, was smart enough to outgame him, to outplay him, that he had no options left without telling, okay, we tried X, Y, Z, but it didn't work for this and that reason. And then everybody in the dangers that everybody assumes, well, he didn't know any better, which I can't believe. Such professional people, but again, we're just looking in from the outside. But this has been the sort of concern for a while now, that when the opponent has found out how RB Leipzig is playing, there didn't seem to be an effective strategy to counter that. In some of the game, well, quite a few games now. And that's, going forward, really concerning. And I wonder, my gut feel yesterday was, he gets sacked in the morning. That is the first time in this season I thought of that. Or maybe it's getting he's on really, really thin ice now. But we don't know. We really don't know. I'm just, I don't want to spread any rumors, but it's the sentiment to now I feel a little bit better. But I don't know.
Obviously, this squad cannot handle setbacks. We saw
True.
it versus Stuttgart. Okay, was 1-0 lead at halftime and was like, okay, it's not that bad.
Hoffenheim comes to mind.
Hoffenheim, yes.
Bloody hell.
Yes, another example. And now the 3-0 lead. And you can see a one goal and then just this whole thing seems to be so fragile.
Collapsed.
Just collapsed within seconds. And it was not the first time this season. And I by myself, I think that if we were not able to react to the equalizer in the Bremen game so fast,
True.
that would have been an ugly afternoon. So in the hindsight now, if we're looking backwards and look at how the two games afterwards developed, I'm sure about that. But well, to be honest, my humble opinion is Marco Rose has this game now versus Sporting, and the next one versus Leverkusen. And if we should get shut out of the park twice, then this is it.
I feel Roger Schmidt coming on, but that's a different story. or maybe a Dutch gentleman, who knows. It feels like we're Dortmund 2.0 in that sense at the moment. Now Dortmund is even worse. Yeah.
Even worse.
That brings me to something you mentioned before the podcast. There is some stats you looked at, and that doesn't make nice reading. Do you want to share?
Yeah, I found it on footystats.org, so anyone can cover this by themselves. There is a nice table, and this table is the expected points table, and they calculated it like that. So it's simple. If you are scoring more expected goals than your conceded expected goals, then you got 3 points if this is above 500. So if you score 1.6 x goals and concede only 1.4, this is rounded to a 2-to-1 score, and you will get 3 points in this virtual table. And if it's equal, you get 1 point. And if you are down like 0.9 x goals to 1.7, you go off the pitch as a loser. And in that calculation, if you're looking at this table, we are ranked 14th with 19 expected points. 19 expected points. Actually, we got 31 now.
We got 31. How did we do that?
It's magic.
It's magic.
Well, to be honest, if you're looking at this whole table, there are quite huge deviations between the expected points and the actual points that were scored by all these clubs. The only team that is right on schedule is St. Pauli. 17 points expected and 17 points actual.
They stick to the plan.
So, but that only tells me that this is a stat that takes a bigger number to show a real picture of this expected thing. And I haven't had the time now to look into the other seasons and try to accumulate from the 2022-23 season and see what the result would be. But right now, it concerns me because when I look into these 19 expected points, it feels like, okay, this is in the most games our true strength. And it would be, it would have felt, more fair if we would have only 25, 24, 26%, so around this Dortmund number, actually. So this is, I think, our true level that we are now on.
Okay.
So footystats.org, everyone can cover up now itself.
Okay, there are a number of stats that people are showing us at this moment, pointing out to these developments and also for a while. But I think this one was new and very striking to me. So that's why I thought it was worth mentioning. Thank you, Richard. Richard, I know Wednesday's looming. The last game at home in the Champions League campaign. Hopefully it's not the last Champions League campaign for a while. But at the moment, I'm a bit skeptical if we're going to be back in the top 4. Even in Europe, if we're going to be back, I don't know. Anyway, it's not a good day today. So, Richard, let's look at our next opponent.
Introducing our next opponent, their Gegnercheck.
All right, Sporting Lissabon is coming to town Wednesday, 6:45 p.m. So it's the early window, so to speak, in the UCL match day.
Stupid time, but hey.
Really?
But we get home early. Not like the 11, 12 o'clock.
I think it's a cool time to play a football match because I can take my son with me into the stands. And if you're going, if the next day is a day at school and the kickoff is 9 o'clock, it's just too late.
You're right. You got a point there.
Even for 14-year-old boys. So, Sporting, the third team from Portugal to play against. We are pretty decent against Portuguesian teams right now. Only 1 loss so far versus Porto, 1 draw against Benfica, and 2 wins against those squads in the recent years. So Sporting minimum play against them is currently top of the league in Portugal with only 2 losses. And that occurred back in November, December versus Santa Clara at home and Moreirense. I misspelled it totally.
But it sounds great. Well done.
Right. Thank you. But there was those losses when they lost their coach to Manchester United. And then they lost 4 in a row. And then they seemed okay. New coach, now have found the key to the squad. And from that, they started winning again. In Europe, the Sporting Lissabon only have won once against German teams on German grounds on away games, and it was at Frankfurt in September 2022. 3-0 victory from goals Marcus Edwards, Trincia and Nuno Santos, and guess what? all those 3 are still with the club. So speaking of consistency, I think this is one thing
I'm going to counter that. They're just not good enough to be sold.
Yeah, maybe. but with a little look into the future, in the near future, I think this consistency thing is one thing I would like to mention in our next episode when we're talking about Liverpool's match, but not today. So, Sporting, I think in general, Sporting is that club that RBL would like to be. Young, hungry, very talented, and with the clear and obvious idea what to do on this pitch. They're aggressive, they are quick, and they can do anything with the ball. So they can play in counterattacks or just outplay their opponents. True, it's in the Portuguesian league. You have to be careful. It's not that level like the Big Five in Europe, I know, but still very impressive if you watch them playing.
And they still have something to play for. They can't be that bad, can they? I know a different club who hasn't had any points so far.
It's, by the way, the club that beat Manchester City 4-1 at home.
There you go.
I know it was like the start from this huge negative sequence that Man City was in. So it felt like, okay, everyone was able to beat Man City in late November, early December. But that's a different story. So let's talk about a few players to watch here. And of course, obviously, their number 9. Everyone knows Victor Gyökeres, 26-year-old from Sweden. And his stats this season are just ridiculous. 21 goals in 17 matches, adding 2 assists. Yes, 21 goals in 7. Only in the league, right? I did not look into what he was able to do in the UCL. And if you take a closer look, you will recognize, okay, the 7 goals came from penalties, but it's still impressive. And if you look where it came from, it's interesting because he had a slow start into his career. He transferred from Brommapojkarna, it's a club in Sweden, I think it's in Stockholm, to Brighton back in 2018.
Okay.
And never played for the first squad, actually. He was one season with St. Pauli, so the older ones might remember, in the second Bundesliga. Scored there from time to time, but only was on loan, so he had to go back to Brighton, and only played a few seasons in the Championship. 1 season for Swansea, 3 more for Coventry, and at the age of 23, he started to perform double-digit goals every season since 2021.
Okay.
17 goals in 41 matches, 21-22, 21 goals a season later, and then, after that, he joined Sporting and scored 29 goals in his very first season with Sporting in 32 matches, and I mentioned it, 21 right now in 17 matches so far. And if you watch him play, and I watched a lot of highlight tape because I could not stop, because he caught my eye, and I was like, oh boy, this is a striker every squad like to have. And he reminds me of a medley of Erling Haaland in terms of his decisiveness and physical appearance with the ball, and Niels Pedersen.
Niels Pedersen.
That's a nice mix, isn't it?
Well done. I love it.
Yeah, because if you look at him, and you will know what I mean. Yeah, because Victor Gyökeres look a little bit like Niels Pedersen, and he is as clinical as Pedersen has been.
Okay.
No hesitation at all. If there's an open lane, he shoots, and he does it with both feet, so it's even harder to defend. He has a hard shot with the right foot, but it's also capable of doing it with his left. And it's not that kind of striker that waits around the 18-yard box and waits until the ball comes to him. No. He goes back right into offensive midfield and trying to initiate the attacks. And it's really real. I'm really looking forward to seeing him play in our stadium. True, I hope he won't score, of course, but I think this guy alone is worth the entrance. Although I don't pay something for my ticket this time, but that's another story.
You paid in energy. Okay,
yeah.
Energy rates. So there you go.
Yeah, thank you. Okay,
no, this is great. This I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, in this match, it's all about watching great football, and hopefully nobody gets injured. And if we get entertained, we're just out there to enjoy, to be honest. Wow, this is good. Who else is there?
Yeah, 3 more people I have here.
Okay.
Number 25. Number 25 is one of their 2 center backs, and he is quite good. It's Gonçalo Inácio, 23-year-old guy from Portugal, and he joined the club in 2012. So he played there in all of these youth squads and is with the men's team since 2020. He had some troubles with injuries most recently, and that made him miss a few matches, but he should be good to go on Wednesday. Great positional play, quick in closing gaps, never gives up, physically strong, dangerous with set pieces, can play any defensive position, center back, left back, if necessary right back too, and in defensive midfield as well. I spotted him there too. Market value about 45 million now, and his contract is valid till 2027. And my humble opinion is he will very likely join one of the European top flights within the year or two. No doubt about it. So number 25, keep an eye on him.
Okay.
Great player.
Sounds threatening.
Okay. So the other center back is number 26, Ousmane Diomande. He's so young, only 21 years old, from the Ivory Coast. Came to Europe at the age of 18 when he joined Midtjylland in Denmark. Transferred to Sporting in January 2023. And is, I think, one of the hottest young defenders in Europe. He reminds me of Upamecano in terms of having a frame like a freight train. But
very elegantly.
Number 26, watching during warm-up, and you will know what I mean. But he is much more skilled with the ball. Upamecano is not, but he is, and that will be a heck of a job for Openda. Really curious about how and if he will able to run away from him or create even separation, at least just a little bit. So, and of course, the last player I would like to mention here positively is their captain, number 42, Morten Hjulmand, 25-year-old from Denmark. The captain, arguably a top 10 European box-to-box player, and if necessary, he will even go into the boxes. Doesn't matter if it's the own or if it's the opponent's box to fulfill his duties. Extraordinary sense of timing in his actions, great anticipation skills. He sees situations developing in split seconds before anyone else does. Nice touch in his right foot. Do not let him shoot outside the box. So either way, offensively and defensively, number 42, the captain Morten Hjulmand, is very, very special. And, I think when the day will come that Eriksen retire from European or from playing for Denmark, for Team Denmark, then I think it's the next captain of Team Denmark here. So Morten Hjulmand, I like him very much. Do they have some weaknesses? Yes.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering.
Yeah. Well, I think not much, and maybe a little bit weak what I spotted here. But when I looked some highlight tape from the recent matches, I thought that their number one goalkeeper, Franco Israel, showed some problems when people shot from the distance, and is not so confident in defending crosses that flies into the 6-yard box. So that could be some key. So maybe if you have the possibility to shoot from 18 yards away, okay, go for it. And we have people that can do it. And if you're in a good position to bring a long cross into the 6-yard box, and more, if it's better to bring it to the far post and not to the near post, then it seems that he's not the safest or the best goalie that you can have in this units and this departments. And if he should play, the number 20, Maximiliano Araujo, strong offensively, he's struggling as a left back. And in general, there was some other left backs. I have not the names here now, but it's something that caught my eye, on a regular basis. That if you're trying to attacking over the outside lanes and bring then long crosses, as I mentioned, to the far posts, then this could be a key to create some havoc and trying to go for rebounds and giving away shots. So keys to win here: try to get to midfield fast, play with tempo, and if the lanes are open, play long switches, shoot crosses whenever possible, and you can catch Sporting when you're playing quick, and don't give them time to regroup. Don't give them time to regroup. It's always a good advice, but I think versus Sporting, even more so.
Could be actually a very entertaining match. I just hope nobody gets injured, especially on ice outside. But it sounds like it's going to be a really entertaining match. Thank you, Richard. That actually increases my interest in that match. I'm definitely going to be there as well. But who should who can Marco Rose use for this Wednesday versus Sporting Lissabon?
Liebe Fußballfans, wir kommen jetzt zu unserer heutigen Mannschaftsaufstellung.
Okay, since it's only for us a match to win the, as we say in German, goldene Ananas, so it's a golden pineapple. I think Gulaschi will get a rest, so we will see Van der Voort in goal. And please, Marco Rose, please go back to the back four. So bring Baku, Klostermann, Orban, and Raum. I think Baku and Raum need speed on the outside lanes. I think it's crucial. Haidara and Seiwald in defensive midfield. Please send Seiwald back to his original position. Hopefully he can perform better there. Then Baumgartner, Simmons, give Nusa a rest. We will need Nusa in the Bundesliga. And Schesko and Openda as our strikers.
As ever, it doesn't sound so badly, to be honest. But that's just because we know those players can all perform. They can be much better than they show at the moment. Well, there's only one thing we can't say, that not everybody is fighting. You know, some are really fighting, some are taking a little backseat, I think. Okay, wonderful. What do you expect in terms of score?
Well, you know, I never will bet against my own team, but realistically, I see another devastating loss here. I see a 1-4 loss, because if Sporting show on Wednesday night what they showed recently in the Champions League and in the League too, they're just too quick for us. They had so many automatic sequences when playing together. We cannot defend at the moment. And so, yeah, to be honest, I don't see anything good happen here.
And then definitely they're going to go for a win. They're currently in that area which would allow them to go into the, let me call it, pre-playoffs, but they have every chance to move up into the top 8 with the last 2 matches. They got 10 points, which is, I think, 10 more than we've got. And 2 wins would put them into a very good position. So I suspect they're going to really throw everything at us, because it's really everything to play for them. So I suspect them to win as well, maybe a 3-1, 3-2, something like that. But it should be very entertaining. That's what I'm banking on. And hopefully the players are staying fit and injury-free. I think that's the thing we have to look out for. So this concludes our little episode for today. Coming off a really strange result from the Bochum match. By the way, Bochum are last on the bottom of the table. And it's concerning that it wasn't enough to get a win there. And we looked forward to our next Champions League match versus Sporting Lissabon. It should be a very entertaining game. Not sure if we're going to come out with the better end. Richard, thank you very much. To everybody else who was listening to us, thank you very much. We'd be really excited if you were able to and willing to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform. Please leave a review or contact us by email. The email is podcast@bosenred.com. Follow us on our socials and try to stay a bit more optimistic than I am at the moment. And I'd like to conclude. Danke, Richard. Thank you, Richard. Auf geht's, Leipziger Jungs!